Well, it is August 3rd, Saturday morning, and we are here at the incredible Pass the Wire website once again to take a look at the handicapping for the Whitney Stakes 2019, and of course, it is also said to be an analysis, which I always find interesting. Uh, so we'll take a look. We got some fabulous pictures from the Saratoga racetrack, uh, and this is the 92nd running of the Grade 1 Whitney Stakes for a purse of $1 million. 9 furlongs, which is 1 mile and an eighth for horses 3 and up. So you could get some 3-year-olds in here, I guess, if you wanted to. And live coverage on NBCSN from 5 to 6 p.m. later on in the early evening today. So let's get on with it. Another fabulous picture of the Saratoga racetrack. Welcome to Saratoga Springs. Uh, that's always presented as a big deal. I guess there's extra points or something for it being at Saratoga. And once again, Saratoga Whitney Stakes analysis by Geo Set. And there is a perhaps fresh picture of Geo there. And kind of wonder why he isn't wearing his past the wire hat. Uh, and But we'll maybe take that up. See what kind of hat's being worn on the next big analysis. It's that special time of year. The entire racing industry is filled with great anticipation and intrigue as the very best thoroughbreds from each division are in a yada 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 blah blah blah. Uh, which, hey, yeah, it's a horse race with $1 million purse. Great. Okay, so, what do we got here? Uh, I always wonder how any of this is of much interest to bettors who are basically interested in. Uh, is there anything in this race that I could bet on? Do I have an advantage anywhere here? Uh, have the handicappers have they got their wires all crossed up and they're all screwed up and messed up on the last race for any particular horse? And they've got a situation where I can get higher odds on a horse that would be more competitive on the basis of ability and their particular ability to run around the track today, this afternoon, Saturday, August 3rd, on the day they're actually having this horse race, the Whitney Stakes. Uh, and, here we have a lot more uh, yada 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 on how the Whitney Stakes became named the Whitney Stakes, who it's named for, and everything else. Not that that's I guess that's all interesting to the horse racing industry and an example of how self centered they are and self interested, that particular club. But again, I kind of question whether it's really of much value to uh, those regular folks that may want to bet a horse in this race. And of course, that club and that crowd is getting ever smaller every day uh, because the horse racing industry just really isn't very interested in their viewpoint or what they're interested in, which it just becomes more and more obvious. Although, Geo does mention the betters here in the last sentence. As I often share, I hope my thoughts provide you with a useful guide for you to make an informed decision for yourself at the betting window. So that's some commentary on what this is all about. Uh, Geo once again is looking to guide you. Uh, so, let's see what he's looking to guide anyone toward on this particular day. And he will say that over the years, I have had a great measure of success handicapping this race. So, there we see it's, you know, a little plug for himself there, and his particular tremendous genius when it comes to handicapping this particular race. Not that we've seen much genius, handicapping genius from Geo all year so far. But hey, maybe this is the one where he's got a good line on things. So we get down to his first and number one choice. This 4-year-old chestnut son of Curlin, very important to a handicapper, uh, who was purchased for $410,000 as a yearling, is his top choice. And I guess these couple of things here are of extreme importance to a handicapper. But then again, just my own opinion as the number one analyst in all of North American horse racing. Uh, yeah, I tend to think that the average public, those basic people that might uh, bet a horse race, might be persuaded to, hey, let's bet a horse today. Let's step out of the lottery line for a few minutes and take a look and see if there's anything in the Whitney Stakes that we might be able to bet on. Let's bet on a horse for a little change of pace. There may be 5 or 6 people out there in the normal world that might think about that or come up with that idea or look into it somewhat. And of course, I doubt that they're very much interested in any of this. Uh, and they're probably, if they were reading this, they'd probably be like, "What's a curlin?" Uh, so let's get on with it. This particular horse, Vino Rosso, began his career back in 2017. Yeah, gee, what was that? 2 years ago. Yeah, winning both starts, although he won the Wood Memorial last year as a 3-year-old. For the most part, he was a disappointment, winning just one of 7 starts. Gee, that's not a very fabulous record. 7 starts, winning just one. I mean, does the trainer know what the ability of this horse is, so that you might be able to more or better enter him in races where he has a good chance to win? But of course, hey, for these $1 million purses, hey, 1 of 7 starts. I mean, that's not bad. It'll work. This is something that analysts might actually want to consider. The fact that the horses in this race, I mean, really, hey, if they win 1 in 7 or 8 starts, or even 10 starts, uh, 60% of a $1 million is $600,000. So far, this particular horse, I mean, he's already showing a profit. They only paid $410,000 for him, and if he's won $1 million purse, hey, that's 600,000. And yeah, you got to give the jockey a little couple of bucks out of that, and the trainer a couple of bucks out of that. But still, I mean, he might have got a check in one of these other 6 starts where he didn't win. Uh, it came up short in the Grade 2 Jim Dandy and the Grade 1 Travers over the same Saratoga soil. Now, as a 4-year-old, he's been impressively more professional. Uh, and on so on and so forth. Johnny Velasquez, up once again, and he has won this race 4 times. So obviously he knows how to win in this spot. Saddled by Todd Pletcher, who is one of the best trainers in the business, has won this race 3 times. And once again, this is where I usually mention that a good, really good jockey, really good trainer might win one race out of 5, one race out of 4, and that's the really good one. So how is this really much of a factor? I mean, very big factor in this particular race this afternoon, because we'll be able to say this for all of the trainers and jockeys basically that are on a horse or running a horse today in this race. And second, we come up with Mackenzie. Comes into the race with the most consistent Beyer speed ratings, as if that makes a difference at all. Beyer speed ratings, my God. If anybody had ever done any analysis of Beyer speed ratings, they would know that Beyer speed ratings have never, in 45, 50 years, however long they've been around, for God's sake, geez, have never been more predictive than the morning line. The morning line, the first 4 horses, the favorite, the second choice, the third choice, and the fourth choice in the morning line odds will win 75% of the races today, basically. Uh, and if that winds up being highly out of whack today, well, uh, just give it tomorrow and the next day, and we'll be back in whack again. So that those percentages are way, 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 way old, like 130 years or so. And Beyer speed ratings, hey, yeah, yeah, right. So they've never been more predictive than the morning line odds. So what does anybody care? And handicappers always the Beyer speed ratings, the Beyer speed. Uh, if it were me, I mean, I would say, as an analyst, I say, you might not want to bet your money on Beyer speed ratings. So, especially since they've never been uh, more predictive, or even equal to the morning line in being predictive. But Mackenzie's 10 for 11 lifetime in the money, winning 6, running second 4 times, and with his only lemon in last year's Breeders' Cup Classic, where he faulted terribly and ran 12th in a field of 14 at Churchill Downs. Gee, I wonder what his Ability X rating was for that race. And did it suggest that perhaps he could win? I don't think so, but I could look it up, I guess. But we've got his Ability X rating for this race today, so we can go by that. And connections, of course, are as good as they get in the sport of kings. Well, yeah. Okay, what are we looking at? 20, 25% win. Uh, Once you add it all up and everything, if they're really good at getting a horse to the wire first today, which, that's what the bettors would be interested in, then this is one talented colt. Maybe one day we'll finally know why he was so bad on Breeders' Cup Classic Day. And then we've got the You Just Never Know. Well, if you just never know, and if that's true, what the hell are we handicapping this race for? And why can't you people figure out that average folks, the average folks that might think about betting a horse race today, uh, they rejected handicapping a long time ago, because Grandpa kept telling them, oh, yeah, you're going to handicap the horse races, and that's the way to win. And they listened to Grandpa saying that for decades, growing up, and then they got to be adults and they figured out, hey, yeah, I wonder if Grandpa ever won much of anything. I just remember all the stories about how he almost won and he lost. So, uh, but anyway, let's take a look at those two top picks. That's number 5, number 6, and let's even take a look at the third top pick, Thunder Snow, number 4. And hey, number 4 Thunder Snow has earned in his career so far $16 million, $16.5 million, and no other starter has even 4 million. Uh, so we might, as analysts, want to consider that. But as an analyst, basically, what an analyst wants to consider is the ability of the horse for today's race. And this right here is the best past performance publication that anybody can get for doing that, for getting an analysis going of the race today about 20 minutes before uh, they go in the gate, and getting started on that analysis, because it only takes a few minutes to do. If you have in hand anything, uh, even a reasonable measure of ability for the horse's ability to run this race today, which you have exactly that with the athomehorseplayer.com Ability X ratings for Saturday, August 3rd, 2019 at Saratoga. And the Whitney Stakes is the ninth race, so let's just take a look at that real quick, and we can very quickly uh, at least analyze this proposed analysis here, uh, or what I like to call the handicapping, because that's all I see or hear or read is handicapping. And I guess I can point out the big signal to that here in a minute. But as we look at the Ability X ratings, the most accurate measure that anybody can get their hands on for the horse's ability to run around the track today, right here, ninth race, 9 furlongs dirt, and actually, the par for this particular Grade 1 stake race, probably we should cut this in half, and, put it down as a 60 run, 90 early speed for a par, since that generally worked and everything for most of the Kentucky Derby prep races this year. And it's still pretty effective as a par, for Grade 1 stakes, mile and eighth, mile and a quarter. But the real, we could also reduce it to 1/4 and put it down as 30 with some quick look at the field. Uh, we have one, number 7, number 2, right around 60, which, hey, that's something to consider in an analysis. But we also have number 8, number 4, McKenzie, the horse we were just talking about, 22 and 23. So we have a pair in the 20s. And of course, McKenzie here, the even money favorite. Uh, 1-1 morning line is 32. So if we actually were to say, hey, that's three horses. So let's take and set this par at 30. We probably wouldn't be very far off. Uh, but if if we are ability analysts, we can set it at 60. We can put it at 30. We can set it at 60, knowing that hey, we've got a 22 in McKenzie. We've got a 23, number 8. We've got, and then we got 5 here. Vino Rosso, Gio's first pick. He's in here at 95 early speed with an Ability X run rating of 9 for this mile and an eighth, which this in particular lineup is very reminiscent of Maximum Securities ratings and early speed going into the Florida Derby, which he just walked away with. And then he, led the whole way to win the Kentucky Derby, actually. Uh, and then, oh gee, what was War of Will and the Preakness? We set that par at 30.90, and War of Will was the only one at that exact par. And then the horse that was second to War of Will in the Preakness, I believe, was a 31, with just 1 point away from uh, McKenzie here. I believe that's McKenzie, number 6. So, hey, AGO might actually be looking at this race in a little more of the perspective of an analyst, since he might be considering this ability and this early speed for Vino Rosso, number 5. And it may be that Vino Rosso has matured into this type of ability. Uh, so we gotta pay attention to that. The Ability X rating simple pick for this race, Vino Rosso, is a 995, reminiscent of Maximum Security going into the Florida Derby. Uh, and Geo has finally recognized that by putting him as the number 1 pick at 6-1 morning line odd. And that's a little more like what we're looking for as betters. And from this point, as usual, an analyst would pay close attention uh, from the paddock out to the track and around the track, the warm-ups and everything else, to see that this horse is in condition. And that's how you know whether these 2 months off, 2 months standing around, uh, 2 months rest have either detracted from this ability or added to it or maintained it, however you'd want to put it. And but anyway, that's what we got. And hey, but we gotta pay some respect here to number 4 uh, as a 22.95. Also, yeah, number 6, that's McKenzie. And let's see. Where's he at? Yeah, McKenzie. He's the 32, 1-1 even money favorite. And to tell you the truth, as an analyst, I've never been that impressed with McKenzie. Uh, so Thunder Snow is number 4, and number 8, Preservationist. So it seems that uh, number 8, Preservationist, the Ability X ratings key horse, and the 23 in the lineup, the one of the second morning line choices or second morning line odds at 3-1. So apparently, number 4 and number 8 are your second, and third morning line choice in whatever order the line maker has put them in. So here we have Geo in his top four. He has the three lowest, actually in his top four, he has the four lowest Ability X ratings in this race. So that has traditionally and in past years been significant and in many of these grade one huge purse races have been the four or perhaps five lowest Ability X ratings has been the superfecta with frequency and often. And if we looked at the fifth Ability X ratings, we would come to number three here, a 49. So that is five horses better with a better rating, a lower rating than our 60 and 61. So perhaps we should put that par at 30 for our considerations. Our considerations as analysts toward this race. And Geo even admits that Preservation, as a late bloomer, possesses high speed and boatloads of talent. No measurement of it, but if you wanted a measurement, you had to come over here and see, hey, Ability X ratings key horse, that is 2388. That is a boatload of run because it's the horses with the slower early speed and good ratings that tend to run a better, full, more complete, under their own power horse race, all the way to the wire, from the gate all the way to the wire. I mean, these are the ones that do that much more frequently than the fast guys. But number 8 and number 4, I mean, that's very legitimate ability pair. And then you've got number 5 there to consider. And an analyst would be looking at all 3, 4, and perhaps even 5 with number 3 to get some sort of a grip, not a feel, but a grip on if any of those 3, 4, 5 horses have a edge on the others, an actual competitive edge that would perhaps be that is measurable, can be seen, and then perhaps an analyst might want to bet on that apparent edge willingly and confidently, and knowing that there are no guarantees and there's no such thing as a sure thing, but losing that bet, if that's the way it goes, is much less painful. And than if you had made that betting decision with a bunch of handicapping criteria and you're just betting your money on a feel, what seems nice. And I think we got that, which to me is always the bottom line. The bottom line of all handicapping. I'm trying to find it here. I know I spotted it earlier, but to me it always just kind of sums up where the handicapper is as he is going away from the window after betting his money, him or her. And I know that, I can't quite seem to put my finger on it, or put my pointer on it. I guess what I'm trying to do here. quick, but I thought it was either the first choice or uh, the second choice here that Geo says that he feels this, and that, and whatever. Which that's usually what handicapper. That's the best he can do is have a feel. Uh, you know, and here we go. But I feel he must be considered as a contender to take it all with his best, and that's about as good as you can get. A feel. Thunder Snow, number 4, uh, and you know anybody anybody can just hey, look at number 4 up there, 22, uh, right next to the key, and early speed, uh, the highest with number 5. And acceptable for this distance if we're looking at top shelf horses. So, you know, a analyst would be able to take an actual analyst, excuse me, a real analyst would be able to take the handicapper's feel and bring it over here and take a look and see if he might be able to, turn that into a grip, by, maybe getting a grip, a better grip on number 5, better grip on number 4, better grip on number 8. And that's what it's about. And thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to the next episode with great anticipation.